It was an exciting weekend of football. So let's just catch up because there's a lot to discuss. So let's just review the scores real quick. And
all right. So the weekend started off with the Chargers and the Texans. And that was we all three of us, we picked the Chargers.
Yeah, we did.
Like a bunch of idiots.
Dumbasses.
Fucking dummies. The whole lot of us, man. And the Texans, man, they just absolutely handed it to them.
Nobody saw Herbert throwing 4 interceptions when he threw 3 for the entire season.
Yeah, 32-12 was the final score.
Right.
For
Nobody
those
saw that.
Yeah, I mean, just a blowout, and it was just ugly. It was an ugly fucking game.
Right.
Way to start off the wild card weekend, right? And then you follow it up with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Baltimore just blew out Pittsburgh as well, 28-14. That one wasn't really all that close. Some cosmetic scoring at the end there for Pittsburgh.
I was looking at it, right? Baltimore played a Saturday game, right? And then they played a Wednesday Christmas. And then they played another Saturday game. Did they play one more in between there? And then they played a Saturday playoff?
Yeah.
I don't know about I think their whole schedule has been pretty
weird
since Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, well, oddly enough, the Chiefs are have played a game on 6 out of the 7 days of the week this season, because they had a Wednesday Christmas game, and they had the Thursday game. They were on Black Friday against the Raiders. Then they had a Saturday game, obviously a bunch of Sunday games and a Monday night game. So the only one they didn't play on was Tuesday, and so anyway.
And we all got that one right. We all picked the Ravens.
Yeah. So we all picked the Ravens winning. Broncos lose big time to the Bills, was at 31-7, I believe. Yeah, 31-7. And we all had that one right. I mean, the Bills just kind of came to play. The Broncos were kind of holding tough there for a little while there. At the end of the first half, that missed field goal doinked right off the post. And that was kind of the end of it. They could have gone into halftime tied, and then they just didn't score again the rest of the game. So I don't know, pretty deflating there for them.
Yeah.
Tyler, your boys get the win 22-10 over Green Bay on Sunday. Do you have anything special you want to say about that game?
Man, defensively, this team looked exactly as advertised, and I loved every minute of it. Losing to Kobe Dean, our middle linebacker, is going to be a big blow, but Zach Bond being all-world talent, Vic Fangio comparing him to a fellow middle linebacker he once coached in Navarro Bowman. It feels great, man. I mean, honestly, offensively, we struggle, but again, Jalen Hurts has been out for 2.5 weeks. You know, I'm willing to bet that he would have played Week 18 if it meant the 1 seed on the line, but nonetheless, we're dealt with the hand here. So I think a little bit of rust for sure. Saquon Barkley looked great. I think he could have got more yards on that last run there instead of kneeling down, and all of his teammates made sure they let him know about the same thing. Could have kneeled down at the 10 there instead of at the 45, but that's fine. It's whatever. Ice the game, kill it. I just need to see more offensively going into next week, whether we play the Vikings or the Rams. Currently, I'm going to steal your thunder here. The Rams are up 7-0 on the Vikings. Very early, though.
And Matthew Stafford is currently 9 for 9 for 104 yards and 1 TD pass to Kyron Williams.
Yeah, so I think defensively we're going to be there. We're going to be solid. Offensively needs to pick up a little bit. It did also help that the Packers, I don't know who they cursed on their way into Lincoln Financial Field, but I mean Watson ACL, their 2 other wide receivers shoulder concussion, their right guard shoulder out. Their broken leg, and then Love with the wrist and the elbow. So I don't know who they cursed, but they were dropping like flies that game, which helps, but
you
don't want to see happen.
Yeah. Oh, Kyron Williams, big run. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. So clearly we all kind of have the games going on right now, live. It took until Sunday night, but we got a competitive game. Washington ends up pulling the upset over Tampa Bay, which all 3 of us called, by the way. So we all we are all 4 for 5. The only game we got wrong was that Chargers Houston game so far. So that's
I'll
cool.
have you know, I only picked Washington for one reason. I forget his name. The defensive coordinator for the Bucs has had Jalen Hurts' number since going back to 2022 or 2021 when we played against Tom Brady. So I picked because I don't want to see the Bucs, and I'm glad I don't have to see the Bucs. But you know, it is what it is.
Right? Wow. Yeah, and it's we only differed on one game. Sam and Tyler have the Vikings. I picked the Rams, and we'll see how this shakes out. But rather be ahead than behind right now. I'll say that. So when we have the picks for next week, when we total them all up, we'll have this game, and then we'll have going forward. There's no more Monday games, so we'll be able to keep everybody updated on our scores for our pick'em thing that we're doing. Yeah. So, and I mean, the way the Bucs lost too, that the fumble, right, and then the walk-off field goal, just brutal way to end the season.
It like
for the Bucs,
clanked
man.
and still went in.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a half doink because it still went in.
I heard it on the TV. I heard the doink. It still went in. Still counts.
Yeah, not to be confused with the 2019 double doink in the playoffs for the Bears against the Eagles to lose that game for the Bears.
Yeah, jeez. That one that was really brutal too. Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. I said 2019, 2018. I apologize.
2018, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So there is your recap for the week that was in the wild card. We still obviously have the one game going on, and as updates happen, we will update you all. That being said, there are a couple of things that have happened over the week. This past Wednesday, the 49ers GM John Lynch said that he expects to cut Javon Hargrave. It auto-corrected to Jacob for some reason when I typed it in here. But anyway, so they're going to cut him after June 1st, but he is open to bring him back for next season. I have to assume there's salary reasons for after June 1 cutting him. He also said that he's planning on having Debo back next year. So we'll see. I did call the Javon Hargrave one.
So I will say this. Yeah. Jake Moody won me my championship in my ESPN league because he missed the extra point field goal to cause the game to possibly go to overtime. So my question to you, Vince, is do you think he's on the chopping block next?
I think his job is an open competition. He's going to have to earn that job in in the preseason, because it is fair game at this point. You know, you have to. He was way too inconsistent this year, and some of it might have been injury, but even then, he was back for several weeks at this point toward the end of the year, and he was still missing stuff. So yeah, you're gonna have to open it up, and there's an opportunity. So I am going to announce that I'm getting into shape, and I'm going to see if I can start kicking 60-yard bombs. No, kidding. Can't do it.
Do you think Ricky Pearsall impressed you towards the end of the season?
Vince's knee and foot going through the
going with it, yeah. Ball. Yeah, it'll snap off mid femur and just but it would be good from about 35 because
the ball would go in, but his leg would doink.
It's actually going to sit. The knee is going to sit on the crossbar. Is what's going to happen.
No, the best would be it's like you doinked both poles. You doink one with the foot and doink one with the football. Ball, and Vince just rolling around like no one's ever double doinked at a left and a right at the same time.
Yeah, with their own goddamn leg. Yeah.
Fucking legend.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Tyler.
Me on the field.
You were making a serious football point.
Yeah, I was asking, did Ricky Pearsall impress you in the last
couple
games?
Okay. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's all I was looking for was just one game where he flashed, and fuck darn it, did he flash? You know, I mean, like that it was like 140 yards and a touchdown in that one game. Yeah, that he gave me what I needed to see. I feel a lot more confident going into next year with Ricky Pearsall. So we'll see what happens with Brandon Ayuk coming back from the injury. How the depth chart kind of works going from there and on. But especially if Debo is actually coming back, you know, I mean, this is a team that is unafraid to use a fullback. So there's a lot of times where you only have 2 wide receivers out there. So there's going to be a rotation of some kind. That's something for the team to figure out in, you know, like OTAs and training camp and all that stuff. That's neither here nor there right now. Right now, they got to worry about getting Brandon Ayuk back healthy first, and they got to figure out what the hell went wrong with Debo. And I think Debo's going to have to figure that out himself as well. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at with the Niners at this point. Obviously, they're not in the playoffs, so nobody really gives a damn. Just us, you know, fucking psychotics talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason why I'm wearing Shark stuff right now, even though they lost all 3 games this week. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Just to recap, the Mike McCarthy from Dallas. It looks like they are not bringing him back, so he's gone. So
damn it!
I was really hoping he would come back.
Yeah, me too. It really helped me.
Yeah, love mediocrity from the head coach. You know, when it's not your own head coach. Yeah. So Mike Vrabel ended up getting hired by New England yesterday. That news broke. God, they just kind of did Gerard Mayo dirty. He didn't really have a chance to succeed, and I don't think he was really truly ready to be a head coach as well. So it was just kind of everything was stacked up against him, and it just feels really gross. But Robert Kraft is a gross man, so you know, par for the course.
Yeah. I mean, they got you know, Mike Vrabel's a really good coach, and you know, they got a really good coach, and it's really ugly. It's really nasty, the business side of it, but they got a good coach, and you got a young quarterback, and hopefully you can build the roster and get disciplined over there. But yeah, similar in Raiders land with Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco. Slightly different. I think the moment we started to see that maybe it was a little too big for AP. And Telesco, when Telesco got fired, I really wasn't surprised. As soon as like I started reading the reports that Ben Johnson wants his own GM, and then Telesco is fired, that was clearly like, what GM? You know, it was like, you guys have Tom Telesco. I don't know. Like, I feel like Tom Brady probably texted Tom Telesco like during a Zoom call with Ben Johnson, like, "Hey Tom, you're fired." Like,
yeah,
what GM? Yeah. What GM? Yeah. Ben Johnson.
I don't see no fucking GM.
Yeah, right. That spot's been vacant for weeks.
So I definitely think like there is something big happening for the Raiders. I am drinking the tea that money is not going to be an option for Ben Johnson. GM, staff, whoever, give us a list and the Raiders are going to pay for it. Like, that's one thing.
They're going to throw the kitchen sink at him. Yeah.
They want everything. And I understand the quarterback. And apparently, by all reports, and this is ESPN, Fox, the Raiders are putting it on their website that they did interview Ben Johnson. And for whoever is in the know, it could be BS. It is the media. It's speculation. Is that both sides were impressed with one another, and Ben Johnson can't really make any announcements because the Lions have to either be eliminated or they have to be in their bye week. So they either have to go to the Super Bowl or they're eliminated to formally announce this deal. And then the other big name is Pete Carroll. I was kind of lukewarm when I first heard this last week. I feel like it would actually be a pretty decent hire, even if you only have Pete Carroll for say a 2 or 3 year run. You have to just get back to relevance. You have to just get back to being like a consistent 10-win team. Like that's the bar that the Raiders have to get to. And I definitely think Pete Carroll is interested because of Tom Brady, because of the operation that he's pitching. I was actually chatting with your dad a little bit on YouTube on the other video. Is that the Raiders? How many years have we had where free agents weren't interested, top coaching candidates weren't interested, and this is a list on Raiders.com, guys. This is the official Raiders site announcing who they have interviewed, are talking to, requested interview. This is the list: Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Steve Spagnuolo, Todd Monken, Robert Saleh, Pete Carroll, and Vance Joseph. Not every name is going to blow the hinges off, but when you look at just the net that they're throwing, those are all
it's an impressive net.
It's an impressive batch of who you're going after. Are some names better than others? Obviously, Ben Johnson is a huge name as an offensive guy. Aaron Glenn is the top defensive assistant. Obviously, Steve Spagnuolo was not successful as a head coach, but as a DC, he's a hell of a coach. We know about Bill Belichick getting his opportunity in Cleveland, sucking, going to New England, and the rest is history. But Spagnuolo's a quality coach. Todd Monken never did it as a head coach, but he's a quality OC. Robert Saleh, I think we all agree, is a really good coach, and probably the problem in New York is ownership.
And that was a Woody Johnson problem, not
not a Robert Saleh problem. So, and then you got Pete Carroll, who his resume speaks for himself, and Vance Joseph. I know he didn't work out in Denver, but as a defensive coordinator, he was a really good DC. I think Robert Saleh and Vance Joseph are guys that you're interviewing as a head coach to see if they're interested of, hey, we're going to hire Ben Johnson. Would you guys want to be a DC for Ben Johnson? I think it's more of like, let's get him in the building or let's talk to him as a head coach, but it's more of a coordinator position.
That being said, the Niners did interview Robert Saleh for the defensive coordinator position.
Of course.
And he is the reports are he's the front runner for that job if he does not get a head coaching job somewhere else. So
as he should,
we'll see what happens there.
Familiarity.
You know? Yeah.
With the Ben Johnson thing, I am in the camp of Ben Johnson. Reason I know he hasn't done it before, but the reason being is you're hoping that you can find your Sean McVay, your Kyle Shanahan, even Green Bay, your Cliff Kingsbury, right? Like you're looking for an offense. It's an offensive league. And I think you're just trying to find a coach that can be a Tomlin and be there for 10 years. Like the Raiders' problem is stability, is continuity. And I think that's what Tom Brady is really trying to put his fingerprints on. This guy's an owner. He spent a lot of money to get in. You want your return on your investment. He does not want the Raiders to stink. I'm sure he would love to be the quarterback that became an owner that took out the Chiefs. I think he would love to be the architect of the Raiders who then took out the Kansas City Chiefs. I really believe that. That guy is so competitive. He doesn't want to lose at darts. He doesn't want to lose at marbles. So I do think there is an effect here. And I would not be surprised if he walks away from Fox Sports or in something else. He becomes like president of football operations for the Raiders. I really don't.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised by that. But in closing, I would love to have Ben Johnson because that would be the exciting hire of like an offense. But if they went with somebody like Pete Carroll, I wouldn't really be mad at that. I would actually understand it. You get a guy that has been there, done that, has won a Super Bowl, has won a national championship, has put programs in, would be able to bring in the best and the brightest coordinators and just get the coaching and the program on track. And I know you're not going to get Pete Carroll for 10 years. The guy's 72 years old. He is a fit 72, but you're not getting Pete Carroll for 10 years. You're getting him probably for 3 years, 4 years, maybe. And then you're hoping one of the disciples that he appoints here and the general manager keep that continuity, and somebody from within gets the job. And you already built the roster. You have a quarterback. You have you have good prospects. You have a good foundation to go forward. But ultimately, I do think it's still going to be Ben Johnson. I think money is going to be no limit. They're going to get whatever GM he wants, whatever staff he wants. And I know there's not the quarterback, but they still have the number 6 overall pick. They have a ton of cap room. You can trade, you can sign, you can draft. The name to keep an eye on, guys. Your boy on Saturday morning was up early watching a lot of college football. Jackson Dart. That, you know, he's a weird name. He was highly recruited to Ole Miss. He never fully reached that stardom that was kind of expected of him. But you know what, man? You watch the tape. This dude might be the biggest, like, roll of the dice, biggest payoff as a quarterback. This dude has arm. He can run. He stands in the pocket. He played under Lane Kiffin, so he's running a pro offense. He's running pro language. And he's a big dude. He's not thick, but he's a tall guy. So I don't think you're going to be worrying about like balls getting swatted all the time. Where Cam Ward is a little smaller. He's a little shorter. And Shedeur Sanders, you guys know I'm just not sold on Shedeur Sanders being an NFL quarterback. But I think that Jackson Dart's going to be there at 6. I wouldn't take him at 6. But
would you take him at 37? Would he be there at 37?
He might. I don't know. Or even if you trade down and you get him in the 20s.
I will say this, okay? Not that I think that my Eagles are going to part with him, but we're going to have a decision to make as far as our quarterback situation goes after Jalen Hurts, given the situation if he gets hurt. There's a real chance that Tanner McKee might be on the chopping block just because of contract situations and having to, thin the herd where we need to. So I wouldn't necessarily rule out that possibility of getting a quarterback. Tanner McKee has looked great. He's 6'5", 6'4", can throw, makes good decisions.
I was texting you guys, McKee, right when I was texting you guys about the final week of the season when New England's guy, their backup quarterback was just, throwing darts, throwing lasers all over the field. So it was like the week of the backup. McKee looked really good. I think that if Johnson is your head coach, you could still get your quarterback. I think your quarterback's going to be there in the later rounds for you because just his stock market. But my gut tells me that if you get Johnson, you're going to have a pretty deadly running back core. That's like his bread and butter. You're going to have a good exactly where I was going is if you get Ben Johnson, why not just stay at 6? Because Ashton Gianti is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
He can be there.
Yep.
Like, so you're talking about you get your Jahmyr Gibbs. And, O'Connell's not horrible. I don't know if he's a Super Bowl freaking quarterback here, but I mean, he's accurate and he's as far as mobility, Jared Goff is a statue.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jared Goff is not running around extending plays like some of these other guys. And neither is O'Connell. And as far as running around in mobility, they're about the same. But O'Connell's an accurate quarterback. He's a young quarterback. He's made mistakes. But I mean, Goff was shipped out of town because McVay thought he was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to a Super Bowl with Goff. They're like, we can't win with this guy. And look at now the Lions. I hope I know your team is in the fight there, Tyler, but from a built up foundation, like the Lions have been dog poo since forever. Like, I think that's the only team that's probably comparable to the Raiders, that they have gone to the playoffs so few times in the past 20 years. But now it looks like they're a legitimate threat. So I think from a they've never won anything point of view. I'm rooting for them because it's a franchise a fan base who is deprived of any type of winning, and I'm rooting for them. But man, it's an exciting offseason. It's sad that I'm excited for the draft and excited for who the next coach is going to be and the GM. But you need something to infuse this franchise, and I hope it's Ben Johnson, but Pete Carroll would be pretty cool too. But I think it's going to be Ben Johnson, guys. I think it's going to be the shock of the sporting football world, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you look at Chicago real quick. Chicago, they got Caleb Williams, but do you really want to work for this ownership group? I mean, they got stadium problems. They got training facility problems. So if you're a young coach and you're working with the quarterback and you have stadium issues, there's all kinds of issues with the ownership, and the same thing with the Jets. You probably don't want to go to the Jets. That's a mess. And then you look at Jacksonville. Okay, you got Trevor Lawrence. Same thing. Stadium problems, ownership problems. The general manager is there. Like, you're not. Maybe you get your own general manager. Maybe
Trent's a clown, though.
Right, Trent Baalke. The owner in the Zoom meeting was like, "I'm down to fire this guy." Like, he was literally like, "I'll fire the general manager if I have to. Yeah. If it's a good idea, I will fire him." So Shad Khan has not been a stable owner, and I know Mark Davis has his blemishes and his warts, but as far as like a stadium, the stadium is done. There is no questions about the stadium. Facilities. The Raiders have been voted by this like player poll where they poll like every single player in the NFL. Their training facilities are head and shoulders above everybody else's gym, training room, all of that. The Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, would not be quiet about it during the Super Bowl when they won last year about how good it is. So from a coaching standpoint, and then Mark Davis does not want to run the day-to-day operation. That's why Tom Brady is here. So if you're Ben Johnson or any coach and you're like, okay, I got to report to Tom Brady, but the owner is like, I don't give a shit. Just win football games. I'm running the business. I'm working on this.
I'd rather be at PF Chang's.
He'd rather be in his fucking unironed shirt. He'd rather just be watching from his box, PF Chang's. Like, I don't know, man. To me, the Raiders' job doesn't really look that bad in comparison to other teams. You could talk to me about the quarterback stuff, but there's a lot of other things that go with it.